Hello, I'm Carl Daniels Jr., and welcome to this special edition of the On-Air Show. Today, I have a very, very special guest for you all today. She is a producer, she is a director. If you don't know her as a household name, you will know her by the end of this show. Please welcome to the show, Rajeana Price.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Definitely, definitely. So, you were a former telecom student, correct? So, what was that experience like, and how did it help shape your career into what you're doing now?
Well, my telecommunications experience was fantastic. It actually was the foundation for my career in television and film production, and I specifically remember getting a passion in the industry with Take Your Daughter to Work Day. It was either 8th or ninth grade, I think it was ninth grade, but I came to my dad's job here at Telecom and got to see juniors and seniors basically doing their own thing. They were editing, some were prepping cameras, and way back then we had the toaster. So they were working on the toaster, and just seeing them working on individual projects, not being micromanaged, didn't know what that was at the time, but just, being creative and being able to work with gear. I said right then and there, I want to be in production. I want to do broadcasting, media. And so from that time to going into my junior and senior year, I signed up for Telecom, and I just, explored every avenue of the program. I worked, on the audio board. Back then we had the Chiron, which was the character generator, worked character generator operator for football games, and also worked camera. I remember working camera one with Bill Barlow up in the stands at Todd Stadium, and Mr. Barlow did not play. He needed his shot, you needed to have it and be ready. But getting those skill sets over Van Camp and learning, the basics for working camera and editing, working as a part of a team, a group, knowing that, this person, this is their role, this is their position, and then this affects your role and your position by them knowing their skills and you having your skill sets. So yeah, getting that foundation at Telecom, it was very imperative towards my career, and also being a high school student and getting paid to do these productions. Going out with the remote production truck, and I was in the era of Michael Vick and Allen Iverson, and being able to capture these athletes on camera and follow their careers, and then we were having our career working camera and everything. It was exciting. It was a lot of fun, and I think having that excitement and enthusiasm for something that I enjoyed doing, I think I carried that into work and into my career, to where a lot of jobs and positions that I've had, yes, it was a job, but it was fun. It didn't feel like work, and just making sure that I did the best that I could do, make sure that I was prepared, had my skill sets, top notch. So I got all of that from Telecom. So yeah, definitely a fantastic experience.
Okay. So you mentioned your dad as your influence, how he brought you here and stuff like that. He was also your instructor here in the program. So
Right.
What was that like, to come into class and you see your dad in front of the classroom as your instructor?
It was, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little hesitant at first of how is this gonna work, but that was just initially, and then we got into a rhythm and a groove to where I was I was another student. When it was class time or we were working productions out in the field, I'm another student, and I need to be just as prepared and skilled as everybody else. There was no, playing favorites or anything like that. I specifically remember one of my classmates, the first semester, in total shock when they realized he was my father. you know, because we had kind of this, you know, separation of, you know, this is my dad, I'm his daughter, we're at home. But again, in the classroom, it was, you know, very much, you're my teacher, I'm a student, which I appreciated that. You know, I appreciated having that. I'm going to succeed or failure, not really, but succeed based off of what I'm able to do, not because of who, you know, my parents are or family members or that kind of thing. So, and again, it was a lot of fun having him as my instructor because Mr. Price is just, he's a well-rounded, my dad is a well-rounded individual, you know, having all these different backgrounds and being relatable. And also, you know, I had a convenient ride home at the end of the day.
So, your dad was is an instructor. He, of course, now he's a supervisor of the program. But you, at some point, were a teacher yourself, teaching TV production. So, what was that like now to go from you were a student sitting in your dad's class, and now you're in front of the class in front of all these students teaching?
Oh, I absolutely enjoyed teaching. After I graduated from Norfolk State University, my first full-time job was teaching high school students in Franklin County, and it was kind of funny because I was 4 years older than some of my students. They still had to call me Miss Price, and I remember, you know, some other teachers, you know, what are you doing out in the hallway? Shouldn't you be in class? And I'm having to explain, like, no, I work here, I'm a teacher, being so young. But the actual molding of minds and being able to see that spark in young people of something that they didn't think they were able to do, and then seeing that moment where that aha moment of, oh, I can do this. I have a skill, I have a talent. So pulling out those hidden talents. I had the luxury of teaching television production, I think, versus a math or English. So we could, you know, explore those creative outlets. Even though we're teaching them technical skills, there's a lot of science involved with how cameras work, you know, white balancing, irising, things like that. But we got to get into the creative as well. So seeing the students tap into the talent that they didn't know they had by utilizing these, you know, this equipment. And, you know, we had kids who just, you know, they really got into audio and made sure we had great sound. And then there were other students that really loved motion graphics and being able to manipulate computers, you know, to come up with these great intros and PSAs. So I really liked, you know, giving that structure. You need to have structure in your classroom, but also having that gateway, if you will, to their creativity and giving them that opportunity to make what I like to call something from nothing. Whatever you can imagine or think of in your mind, you can bring it to fruition with, you know, certain skills and abilities.
Okay. So, as we all know, from those of us like ourselves that have been in this business for quite some time, we all have some struggles within this business. What do you think are some struggles you may have had since being in this business that you've learned from?
I would say I don't really look at it, I guess, as a struggle, but an observation that because I'm a Black woman, there have been times where opportunities have eluded themselves because of people's perception of what I'm capable of doing. You know, taking one look at you because you're a woman or you look a certain way, you know, can you do this skill? Some people, they don't even want to find out if you can or can't because of a perceived notion. So I would say it's more of an observation that having, you know, people's perceptions of you could, you know, try to deter you from opportunities. But I think the key is you create more opportunity. You know, if this door is not opening, okay, well, here are 4 or 5 other doors, that I can create for myself. A perfect example is when I was out in Los Angeles, I did a lot of producing and production management work. So during that time, you had to pick up the phone and call people. You had to call your vendors for your rental equipment. You had to call and talk to people constantly to set up your productions. And I would, talk to them and like I'm talking to you, set up, negotiations and that kind of thing, and be my, regular cheerful Regina self. But then when they come on set, they have this like shocked surprise that I don't fit the mold of what they thought they were speaking to on the phone. And just having those moments of I know what I'm capable of doing, and just I'm going to show you. Right. If we can get past the perception of what people can and can't do based off of how they look. It's a very male-dominated industry. Right. And we're coming out of that in Los Angeles. We're coming out of that where, women, you're seeing more and more women who are behind the scenes working technical jobs. But when I was out there was not a lot of women that looked like me that were doing this. So, letting my skills, talents lead, and, I can, hold this camera and work, this Betacam handheld for these college football games. I can run this 100-foot cable, from this side of the stadium to the other, and knowing and having confidence in your ability and letting that speak for itself, and not, letting people's perceptions of what you can do dictate that for you. So I would just say, making sure you have multiple opportunities. So if somebody wants to try to lead with that, you have other doors that can be open for you.
Okay. So in looking at that, who are some of the people that help to motivate you to press on in the business to get to where you want it to go?
I think that I hold my family in high regard. When I look at my dad, what he has been able to accomplish in his lifetime, I sit back in amazement, because he has had, several different jobs. I mean, he was in the military for 23 years, and he worked, in production and broadcasting before we moved to Virginia, then supervisor, and freelance for ESPN and all these different things. He's had multiple careers that 5 people could have. He's had in one lifetime, and that's a motivation in and of itself. Of here's a man who's committed to his family and goes after what he wants, and has these talents and just uses all of them, and having that in your home. That's a motivator to say, hey, I can do that too. And my mom, she's passed. It'll be 20 years this year, but she, looking back and reflecting, she was my #1 fan. As far as you can do anything that you want to do, and you hear that, and I think having that motivation and inspiration at home again definitely keeps me going. My brothers, my nephews, my niece, and my little brother, they are all motivators, currently and growing up, to keep going and putting my best foot forward in any and everything I can do. I think it's because of when we were younger, I didn't realize what it was, but it's talking about legacy. What we do and accomplish, and who we are as people too. It's not just about your career or, oh, I did this great thing, but who you are as people. It's about legacy, what you're able to do here and what you can pass on. So it motivates me every day, to be better than I was, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and so on, so that, you know, I can say, oh, you know, I made this goal, I set this goal, and then I accomplished it. And then, you know, hopefully my nephew's little brother and niece, they can look and say, oh, I can do that as well. And then I want to add too, again, seeing, you know, your Issa Raes and your Ava DuVernays, your Ryan Cooglers, you see these people that are doing major productions, and they're doing things with their skills and their talents, and you see people that look like you doing, you know, working in the industry. It motivates you to do the same thing, and not necessarily as a competition, but there's room for all of us. You know, there's room for all of us to make it and do your thing.
Okay. All right. So we'll have more after these messages. Please stay tuned with Rajeana Price. She's got a lot more good stories and good information to tell you. So stay tuned. Keep it locked right here on air. Welcome back to the On-Air Show. I am here today with our guest, Rajeana Price, who is a producer extraordinaire that you will know about by the end of this show. So before we were talking about, you know, what was it like, your beginning and stuff like that, what inspires you to continue in this business?
I think what inspires me to continue is seeing the access that we have to the industry now. You know, film in and of itself is just shy of 100 years old, and you might think, oh, that's old, but when you think about how we've communicated, you know, over thousands of years via, you know, writing and, you know, the different mediums, film, television, radio, they're still very, very young. And even adding in the internet, you know, the internet is very young. A lot of the kids might say, you know, might beg to differ, but we've been, you know, part of the internet. It happened in our lifetime, right? And I still consider myself young. So having these mediums be so young, to see what we have done, you know, with this time frame and what, you know, it will do is inspiring. We have with social media and all these different platforms now, what do they say? Content is king. You know, people they're craving content to go on your streaming, to go on cable and online, and you can, you know, pick up a camera, you can use your phone and create. You know, you have an idea, you have a concept, there's literally no barriers to stop you from creating. That was not the case, you know, a few years ago, or, you know, 20, 30 years ago. So having, the resources, and then the need for content. I think it's inspiring to see what we can create, and then me specifically being able to again take some ideas that I've had, just kind of, they won't go away. I write them down, I journal, and having again the resource to be able to go and create those things. I'm currently working on a television series and producing it myself and getting it out there. I have my full-time job, but I'm able to do this as well, and I think that's just very exciting to continue. And not to sound cliche, but God is my inspiration as well, and in terms of Him giving abilities and skills, and being able to utilize those in service to Him, and to help people. I think that goes back to representation, for people to be able to turn on the TV, wanting to escape sometimes the stresses of daily life, being able to escape and turn on the TV, turn on or go to the movies or watch a film and see someone that looks like them doing amazing things, superheroes, or you see women doing things that typically you wouldn't see them doing, and action, and just anything where you can see someone that looks like you in front of you in that entertainment or escapism arena. I think it's important. It helps to balance out your daily life, and then if this is your passion, you want to be the person who is creating and making those projects. You're able to do so. You have the, again, resources, access to make it happen. So yeah, that's very inspiring.
Okay, so we know that you have a project of your own that you served as the director of. You can tell people about the project if you can, and also how did that lead you to becoming a director in your own right?
I when I was younger, Steven Spielberg is who I looked up to. When I was in high school, I did my had a senior project that I did on Spielberg, and again, the niche market of filmmaking, I was just blown away that you could take filmmaking, what's involved with that, and that could be a career. That excited me in high school. And so, it was always in the back of my mind. I did do broadcasting, worked at Wavy TV 10 and various places. I went to Full Sail, and I would say Full Sail is where, I learned directing. I just remember anytime there was a 16 millimeter or 35 millimeter project where they needed PAs or key grips, Best Boy Electrics, any of those things, I was there. I would, Full Sail is, they like to say real world education. So we would have classes and labs starting at 1 a.m. and go to 9 a.m. So that you got that real world experience, because when you're on set, it's not a 9 to 5. You're on set until it's finished. So you could, be working from a 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., a 12-hour day, easy. And so anytime we had any projects, I was there, and I would just study these directors and their students, but the instructor was there, and just seeing that interaction with your actors and your talent, how you communicate with your director of photography. I just, would study and make sure I learned, and then when it was my turn to direct a 1635, I already knew, how I wanted to go about it. And then there was a kind of a stint in there where, freelance, I worked more in production as a producer, production manager, also editor. But yes, recently decided that, I want to step out and make this project, this television series. and it's called Big Girl Love. It's about 5 full-figure women who basically they're living their best life in the city. They're navigating the dating world, their careers, while diminishing plus size stereotypes, what it means to be plus size or full figured. And I had never seen anything like this on television. It's 5 ladies. And again, that representation, I haven't seen it, never, I'll write it and put it on television. So to get it out there, I've had to play multiple positions. So director was one of them. Mm-hmm. And I would say that was probably the easiest part, because I, was watching when I was in film school and when I was out in LA watching directors, to where stepping into that role for my own project, actually, I thought it would be hard because I hadn't, been consistently doing it. Mm-hmm. But it's actually, again, going back to the fun. But it doesn't feel like work. The ladies that I'm working with, they're all wonderful ladies, very professional. You're able to, give them direction. They take direction well. I think that all of those things helps when you have a great group for talent and your crew. Being able to pull resources together to produce that pilot and then continue to get it out there, that's the plan, that's the goal. And I'm excited to, direct some more episodes for that. And, there are other projects too. I definitely would, like to work with, my dream would be to work with the Issa Rae, an Issa Rae or an Ava DuVernay, and, guest direct, that kind of thing. So I think this is all, prep for that.
Okay. So, have you done any work in music videos? And if you have, how did that help you for your own project or projects?
I have worked in music video production. I'm dating myself, but in 2008, there was the recession. Mm-hmm. And so, which is ironically the time that I moved to LA, big dreams. And then there's a recession and a writer's strike. That was fun. Mm-hmm. So television networks, your Grey's Anatomy, these long running shows were put on pause because they needed to work out a deal with royalties with things moving to online. And so, your TV shows, films, they were put on hold, but music videos and commercials were still thriving. This is unscripted television and also reality shows. So I linked up with a production company, started out as a production assistant on a Will.I.Am music video. That was my very first project when I moved out to LA. And the assistant production supervisor had to leave for that second day, and I stepped in that role, caught the attention of the executive producer, who kept me on after that music video to work at the production company. So I would say within a span of about 2 years, I worked on several music videos as a producer, production manager, and in the production office. And it was exciting. I got to work with T.I., Kanye West, and Kid Cudi. They had a couple of music videos. The Fray, that was an interesting one because we filmed in Chicago, and I mean it was a big to-do. We rented a helicopter. We had I think we had over 100 extras that we had to corral and excuse me, ambulance scene, police chase scene, and excuse me, I had to coordinate all of that in Los Angeles for filming in Chicago, and it was about a $250,000 budget. I think that was the biggest project or music video that I was a part of. And with music video production, it's a lot of it's a lot to get those created. Your permitting, your hiring and firing of crew sometimes, feeding the crew, and making sure that your contract and negotiations are exactly how your record labels need them to be. There's a lot of people that you have to manage. There's a lot of people that you have to make happy. The artist has one vision, the director has one vision, and the label has another. So how do you marry all of that together to get the best product? But it was definitely exciting. Every day, literally every day was different. The second part of your question was, how does that help with my current project? I think the pre-production is, to me, the most valuable phase of making any project. You need to have plan A through whatever, backups to how are you going to make this happen. An idea is great. You need that. You need the creative people, but you need that pre-production, that planning to make it happen. To get to on set. And that's when I found out that I loved producing and pre-production. I love having contingency upon contingency and bringing people together with different skills and abilities. It's kind of like orchestra. Everybody plays, or band, everybody plays a different instrument, but you're all working for that one musical piece. It's the same thing with production. And so that pre-planning is what I had to do with the music videos, and same exact thing with any of my projects. And my current one, it was very similar. I was coordinating in Madison, Wisconsin, where I currently live, but we filmed here in Hampton, Virginia. So I had to plan our locations. How are we going to get these 5 ladies in from Texas, LA, New York? We got to get them all here. Our location fees and just all of that. But it sounds like chaos, but it's a lot of fun and strategy involved with making that happen.
Okay. We'd like to thank Regina today for coming in and talking to us about her vast experience and vast career. Also, make sure you be on the lookout for, give the name of your project again.
Big Girl Love.
Big Girl Love. Make sure you look for that on the internet. Make sure you look for that on theaters, as she's doing some big things. So we'd like to thank her again today for coming. I am Carl Daniels Jr. for this special edition of On Air, and we'll see you later.